Thank you for tuning in to The Truth with Trinity, and I am your host, Trinity. And if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, I'd like to send you a warm welcome. Here I talk about issues that happen within the Black community, hopefully for some resolution or at least some food for thought to go about your daily ways. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce this episode's topic, which is the truth that Black men don't want to hear. So I want to start off by saying that initially I was going to name this episode something else and of a different topic. The topic has something to do with Black women and child rearing, and I'm still going to make that topic, okay? But I received a comment in regards to one of my other episodes, and I just wanted to first start off by saying thank you for your comment. So, to this particular person, not sure who it is, and I wanted to thank everyone for the comments that they do leave and for watching, okay? I assume it was a man due to the energy and wording, though one can never be too sure, of course. After all, we're talking about the internet here, right? But the comment went something like this. It says something about Black women would rather get welfare and adopt the feminist agenda. So this is, one of the comments. And like I said, thank you once again. And although the comment disappeared before I could respond, because, that happens sometimes, someone leaves a comment and, YouTube is sensitive, right? But if the particular brother, so I'm assuming it's a brother, is listening, or perhaps the rest of the Black men who may be listening, okay? So this is for other Black men that may be listening, not just the listener. I like to say, all due respect, but perhaps it is because of the Black man's disobedience to God that caused him to lose his land, position on earth, and birthright overall. Because, you know, I don't know. Like I said, we've got a lot of things going on in the Black community. Black consciousness, nothing wrong with that. We got the Nation of Islam. We got the Black Panthers. We got all of these type of different, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, it's time for Black people to put what they know together, right? So there's nothing wrong with different communities and groups, right? But has the Black man ever sat down under an apple tree, and thought about how did the Black men lose their birthright? How did the Black man lose his land? I mean, that's one thing for you to want to science and tell what book it came from. Because, I know, we as Black people, we get deep into that. What name was the tribe? And if you don't know the name of the tribe, then you're wrong. If you don't know what book of the word of God it came out of, or is there a God? All these things that, we like to really major in on the minor. What really matters, though, is the Black man needing to understand, how did he do it though? How did he lose it? How did he go from being the son of God, being the sultan, the kings all over the planet Earth? And that's not just a cliche. I mean, where Asia sits, where Russia sits, where Australia sits, where Africa, of course, and all throughout the planet Earth, there was a Black ruler at one time. How did the Black man lose it all to have to answer to somebody else, And I think that's the deeper part that I think Black men don't want, and that's the ugly question with the ugly answer that Black men just don't want to hear. Okay, which I would like to discuss in this episode. As the Black man continues to only worry about the plight in history and current affairs. There's nothing wrong with the Black man worrying about himself, worrying about the history of what the Black man has went through. But I think a lot of times they forget about what Black women went through. And this is all geared toward the comment about, I assume it's a brother saying, hey, Black women just want welfare. Black women just want to be manly, right? That he forgets, the Black man forgets the after effects that slavery had on the Black woman too. Okay, so not just his plight, but the Black woman's too. After all, isn't that supposed to be the Black man's concern as well? Is the Black woman and children? For every Black man that complains about the Black woman on welfare, there is a Black man that refuses to take control and responsibility for his own semen. Because that's another problem that we have in the African American community. The Black man has been conditioned to only blame Black women. You see Black women at the abortion clinics. You see Black women on birth control, and Black women are blamed for a man's half of his responsibility of controlling where his sperm goes and not just thinking with his penis. So that's the problem that we have with the black man, is that he wants to shift all blame on black women as far as, who's pregnant. Like he just has no control over his sperm whatsoever. And if you listen to the average black man, that's what it sounds like. Oh, she just got pregnant and I don't know how. Like how is the world supposed to view the black man as a man with quotes and things like these things coming out of the black man's mouth? Let me continue. Just as much as the black woman depends on welfare from getting pregnant by a black man who sees no obligation in marrying or supporting the woman or the offspring that biologically belongs to him, so does the black man just willy-nilly and casually expects that welfare and food stamps will take care of any offspring he creates. So this is, like I said, this is in regards to the comment that the brother left about, the black woman just being on welfare. So just as much as the black woman depends, if she gets pregnant, she knows she can apply for welfare, just as much as the black man has grown accustomed to sending his women down to welfare. Oh, I got you pregnant. Oh, well, phone hang up. I know that you'll get some food stamps. So just as well as the black man is complaining that the black woman is depending on welfare, just as much as the black man has depended on welfare to feed his own kids. Okay? And it is because the average black man thinks it is of no concern to him what happens to his sperm or the women it lands in, is the reason why the black man stands behind. Okay, so I'm not saying this is all black men. Okay, there are some great fathers and husbands of black men. We need more of them. Okay, but the black man has this thing where he doesn't care where his sperm lands. He doesn't care who it lands in, and it's that woman's responsibility after it lands. And that's why the black man is not getting the respect that he deserves, even within his own community and even in the world, because just off of saying something like that is not the conduct or the verbiage of a man. It's not. Majority of black men say it is obnoxious for black women to place responsibility for the troubled black neighborhoods, teens, and lack of resources that are within the black community. Okay, so a lot of black men are saying that black women are crazy for saying the fault lies with the black man. Okay, so they're saying that the black woman is obnoxious and crazy for saying that, right? But could it be that the black man has been lost his mind to think that he's going to be regarded as a man as any white, Hispanic, or Asian man, and he wants to continue to make excuses as to why he's not doing what he needs to do on the earth, what God put man here for? We can talk about black women all day long, but I have never seen another race of man, such as the black man, all due respect, continue to shift the blame back on women and make so many excuses when other races of men are not making excuses for their failures. They're not. They're not making those excuses. Yet, is this the same attitude that caused the so-called black man to be stripped, bamboozled, his women raped, his mother, his daughters, and shackles placed around his neck? So this, it ain't me. Oh, you crazy. I'm not controlling anything. I'm not going to take responsibility for anything as a man, but I still want to be looked at as a man. All these things, is this why the black man, is this type of attitude is why the black man's ancestors lost his birthright? And that's what I think these are the questions that I think black men in 2021 need to really ask themselves, instead of continuously shifting the blame of their failures on other races of men and on black women. We can sit and talk about all the mentally abused and toxic black women there are in this generation. Okay, so in this generation, we've got a lot of females bucking male authority, don't like men, hate men, and things of that nature. But the black man doesn't want to face the reality is this is stuff that his father's fathers have done. And just like white people are saying that just because their ancestors enslaved black people and they're not at fault, so now we have black men playing the same game with the black woman. Oh, just because it was my great grandfather or my father's not taking those responsibilities, it's not my fault as a man in 2021, when a lot of black men are still showing the same actions that have continued them down this path of walking around this circle, And if men are leaders, and women are following after men's footsteps, then I guess, we're all going to continue to walk around this wilderness. I'm hoping not. But what the black man doesn't want to hear is that he continues to pacify himself with false rationale that black women are just feminist crazy, okay? So black men don't want to come to the reality that, oh wow, I'm saying that I'm head, but I don't want to take responsibility for anything. I don't want to come to reality that God, I'm not doing what God told me to do on earth, which was to till the land, which was to take control, and which was to do what needs to be done with women and children. You're not taking responsibility for them. You could care less. You're killing them. You're raping them because of part of, the black man hating himself. He doesn't want to come to this rationale. He would like to say that black women are just masculine for no reason. Not that they've been raped out of their femininity, not that they've been abused and called bitchs all day by black men. They don't want to come to those realizations. These black little girls growing up not having respect for men because they hate men because of what they've seen from other men. So they don't want to come to that reality that, yeah, a lot of these black mothers are abusing black sons because of the abuse that they receive from the child's father. Black men are not wanting to come to the realization that you cannot abuse your own race of women and expect to have healthy, productive stock, children, seeds. Other races of men know it. Why don't black men know it? And if we want to say it's because of slavery, it's time that the black man educates himself instead of pacifying himself with the same excuses that he has been for the last 100 years. Instead of realizing the God honest truth that other than sex, the black man refuses to take responsibility. The responsibility that the black man lost through being captured. And as long as the black man continues to deny his responsibilities, then God will continue to revoke his birthright, because that's what happened, right? It's kind of like when you lose your driver's license, it gets revoked. You had them at one time. You had the player card, but you don't have the player card no more. And I think that's what black men don't realize, is that they're falling out of the graces of God a long time ago. And the black man has not been able to put 2 plus 2 together to understand that he must get back in the good graces of God, and that he is held to a higher standard than other men. And until he understands this, we're going to continue to have problems. So his birthright was revoked. The black man will continue to make money for other men's families to become rich. This is all a part of, the black man's curse. We could talk about the black woman's curse, her being loose, her being promiscuous, her not having all her children by one man, her not being able to, be respectful to men. And that's why she's raising children and dying out here from all these diseases and illnesses and mental and health, heart attacks and strokes, because of all the stress levels that are abnormal for the black woman. We can talk about the curses that, are put on the black woman for her disobedience to God. But where does the black man ever come to the realization of what he needs to do, and why the whole race in general? Because it does fall on his shoulders. I don't care, and that's one thing. Maybe there's a man in the comment section that can school me. How can you be a man? How can you be a man and say that your communities and your nation doesn't fall on your shoulders? Who else's shoulders does it fall on? If you're a man, the black man, I've never understood that about the black man. The black man will say, women don't respect him as men, in particular the black woman, but yet he doesn't even want to hear that God did place, those responsibilities I just named on your shoulders as a man. And the failure and success is in your hands as a man. When we talk about overall in general, we're talking about the nation of American blacks. When we talk about the troubled communities, when we talk about, your promiscuous daughters out here, these are your daughters out here. Okay, they're nobody else's daughters but yours. And you're saying that you have no responsibility for it, and it's all the black woman's fault, yet you expect to be respected as a man, as any other race of man. That's the problem we have in the black community. Black women and children will continue to perish And one thing I like to bring up, and this is a little off topic, but I think it kind of goes into the topic, if black men want their children to know more positive things about them and be a positive influence on the mother and children. And I'm going to repeat that because the way that came out, a lot of black men complain that the black woman, feeds negativity about the black father to the black children, from telling them things, whippings, beatings, and things of that nature. And on this part, just saying negative things about the black father. And like I said in my video before this one, my podcast, I said the way that the black man is killed in proxy is not just by guns and bullets and being shot. The black man is also killed and murdered through his seeds, because they're not to say that the black children aren't in quality, but they're not coming up in quality homes. And this is part of it. And I was trying to tell the black man, if you're listening, if you want your children to hear good stories about you, not just what you see on TV, the single mom that the father ran out and she lies to the child and says, your father's a sailor, he died at sea or something, he's a hero and he's off at war. No, the reality is when things get tough, and especially the treatment that some of these black men have let these black women in, it's not going to be great. The children are not going to hear great stories about you. And I think that's a part of the unrealistic expectations that the black man has looked forward to, what I believe other races of men know. Like, if they want their children to hear good stories about them, they're in the house being husbands and raising their children. Not talking about, I don't know how the sperm got on you, I don't know how you're pregnant. The black man needs to tone down on that. If you want your children to know good things about you, know who you are, and not think negatively about you or any woman, talking about that you're nothing to your children, why don't you be there and be somebody? Why don't you stay in the house? Why don't you be that story no one has to tell, because you lived it with your kids? And I think the black man can definitely benefit from that, and he can raise better offspring and children, so that the black race can thrive. Because that's part of how the black man is killed, is through his seed. The hate, the cutthroat back and forth between the black man and woman, and the black children and the black sons growing up and the black daughters growing up to be promiscuous. I mean, let's read about the stories, all the way from ancient times, what usually happens with daughters and women who are left without a husband in the home. And the black man can sit and say, oh, that's what that black woman gets, but that's what your black sons get. That's what you're not understanding, black man. When you say, oh, that's what that black woman gets, or whatever you want to call her, for raising your kids, look at what your children are getting with that. So with you laughing and you chuckling, like, oh, she's struggling, oh, she's mentally crazy, your children are becoming that way too. And that's what kills the black man to 200 to 100 to 50 years down the lane, because of, him not taking good care of his gardens, and we're going to say women and children. And because of that, he doesn't have any livestock. He doesn't have any generational wealth. If the black man out there who are listening can understand what I'm saying. Another thing is, in regards to the feminist movement, white men, Asian men, Hispanic men take rights and responsibilities over the areas where their women and kids live. Okay, so, this is for every black man that just wants to toss every black woman in the feminist crazy, like she just wants to be the man, right? And like I said before, the black man, he wants to a lot of times pay so much close attention to what he's been through. And it's been deep. And like I said, I think we both need to have compassion, both black men and black women, for both sides. But he has failed to realize that, yeah, you've been through a lot. You've been through a lot of lynchings and burnings, but you failed to realize that having to man the home while you were lynched and burnt, what it did on the black woman, and how the black man has hid behind the black woman, I think made that way genetically through slavery, maybe slave masters, making, black men acquiesce, and the only one that could speak in the house was the black woman to the master. So, this trickled down to us now, but, and I wanted to talk about that. You don't hear white, and it's not about me comparing black men, to other races of men, but what the heck? I think this is the only way I'm going to drive in this point here. You don't hear white men making excuses for their failures. You don't. And I think that's one thing I think the black man can take a note. All due respect, not trying to be disrespectful, but the white man, he's got a lot of things, that are negative, as we, all have our little quirks and stuff within our race. But the white man's not afraid to die. He's not afraid to die for his women. He's not afraid for a few white men to die to get his goal accomplished. And if you look back, that's how he conquered what he did. You can get mad at it or accept the reality of, where black men can improve at. Black men don't have any responsibility as a whole for their women. They could care less. They don't think they should. And I think that's part of a negative side effect that happened with black men during slavery. So we talked about black women being raped and stuff, but I think the black man just got stomped out of their manhood to even think, to perceive that they should protect their women. But like I said, you don't hear every time, a white man has an issue that he's blaming his women. If they fail as men. They don't include their women. All due respect, I just don't see that with black men. You can see that with Asian men, with Hispanic men. A lot of them, you don't see Asian women running down to child support and stuff like that. We can say it's because, their women are more submissive, but if the black man was in his rightful position, you know, then the black woman would have to fall in line with hers, because there would be no other place for her to fall into, because yours would already be occupied as a man. So that's just interesting to hear. And to get back on point though about other races of men, they're willing to fight and die. And I wonder if some of those things and qualities were missing out of the heart of the black man. I'm not sure what exactly went down as to how the land got captured, but I'm talking about now in 2021. You can scream that black women are feminist all day, but the reality is the black man wants the right of being a man, all but the responsibility of doing it, and that's why you have so many black women that are, I think, confused in their gender roles, because you have a black man, the average black man, saying he's a man, but he doesn't want to take on any of the responsibilities of one, leaving black women to, as they've been doing for the last couple hundred years, to do it themselves, and then they get called feminists. Well, who's going to feed the kids if she doesn't go get a job, or if she doesn't go get the education? Why isn't the black man beating down the doors to get an education before the black woman is, if he's tired of black women always, being a level ahead of them? I'm just not understanding. Maybe a black man can help me to understand. That's why we're here, right? To understand each other and to get a better understanding. Let me continue though. Why are American black men the only race of men that deny or shift blame for their ultimate disaster of the black race overall, yet still want to be seen as more than boys? I don't understand that. I really don't. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm not trying to come across as a man hater. I'm being honest. I don't understand how black men can want to be seen for more than just boys, not just the black women, but all across the planet, to be taken seriously for more than just rap, more than just tap dancing, football, and boxing, more serious, not just being a comedian, or more serious and complex issues, when he does not have any respect for himself, by not having respect for any of his women and any of his children. And black men, talking about obnoxious and crazy, I think the black man needs to take a trip to the therapist, because I've heard that comment as well. If you think that the issues that are going on with black women and children have nothing to do with you, like, that's crazy within itself. I mean, like I said, other races of men have this thing, where they're like, hey, even if it's not our country, Asians are, you're over in America here, they know that where they live and who they get pregnant and who they, for the majority of them, I'm not going to say all of them, or their communities or their schools, they know they have to take charge of that. And a black man, he'll say out of his mouth one thing, but when it comes to doing it, it's the black woman's fault. And then he'll say, well, you're blaming, I'm supposed to be able to blame you. I don't understand that. And that's why I don't understand about black men. Like, I'm supposed to be able to pass the buck to you. Like, isn't that why you're a man? I mean, maybe someone can help me. And I'm not saying individual cases where women are doing things that, are something that they're not supposed to be doing, that every individual doesn't, like, have responsibility over their own self. But like I said, even with the white race, you see a lot of white women working now. This is 2021, but still white men are running the show. White women still have to answer to white men. And it's not that they just have to answer, because I feel like that about a lot of black men. They use abuse as their control method, because they don't know another way of being men in black women's lives because they never been shown. Well, if the black man knows this, it's time for him to start educating his son so that we can break the cycle and we can have women and little girls that actually, look at black men as gentlemen and not just other races of men, but our own men. Just like, the black woman wants the black man to look at them with respect. Okay. Also, lastly, just as well as the black woman who hides her pain through machoism, so does the black man continue to hide behind the black woman and therefore could never be seen but anything other than how he is viewed now, you know? And I hope this answered the question, or it wasn't a question, but I just wanted to comment back on that comment about, black women just needing welfare. Like they just automatically think, I'm not sure, I'm not saying that there's not certain black women that have grown accustomed, to just, filing for welfare, filing for these things, child support. But to just say that black women out of the blue, just for generations have been depending on welfare, and I asked the black man who was supposed to feed the children that the black man left behind, couldn't feed, couldn't work, whatever the excuse was, who was going to feed the children, so that's just, interesting. And like I said, this feminist movement thing, I think it's a little overrated in regards to black women, because I know for sure that the black woman for the last 1 to 200 years has been waiting for the black man to stand up, to stand up to someone other than another woman or another black man or anything and protect what he claims is his or he doesn't think is his. I mean, it's time for the black man to get back connected with God, really. That pretty much concludes this segment. I appreciate everyone for listening. All the black men, black women, non-black people, whoever was listening, thank you very much. And I want to thank my new subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. I want to thank my A1 Day 1 subscribers. And hey, if you haven't subscribed yet and you like what you heard, you can hit the like, share, or notification bell button. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions or would like to make a financial contribution, you can at thetruthwithtrinity.com. You can also listen to my podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor. And always remember, if you can't tell the truth with anyone else, you can with Trinity. Till next time, take care.